So it's finally time to start working on this base. So I've got my XPS foam, it came, and I've started to mark out a little bit on there. You can see the reflection of my glasses right here. You can see my hand in it. Yeah. I've started marking stuff out on it, and I'll flip over the camera now. So yeah, we got the basic bits lined out. So the idea is this section here is going to be cut out, completely gone. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of it down to about this level. I did originally do a couple other sketches, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to go with this one. A bit more simple. This is going to go almost to the back. We've got another piece that's going to sit behind there, and that's going to be the doorway that's going to have all the Tyranids running out. So I'm not sure if I actually showed it in the last video, but the Korgorath has arrived and he's going to be situated at the bottom of the stairs. And the idea is that we're going to have an absolute horde of Tyranids all swarming through one central doorway, coming towards the Korgorath and the Blood Reavers. So that's just a quick mock-up. And there's going to be this tower just on top, like this little platform, and that is where we're going to have a Lariel. So like I say, the Korgorath arrived and it was in pretty good shape, but the only issue that I found with it was that whoever worked on it before, it snapped a few little bits off. Maybe that tooth, I don't know if that's supposed to be there, but they also used quite a bit of super glue and quite a thick layer of paint. I don't know if they painted it and didn't like it, so painted it again, but it did take a little while to get this all stripped down. So to make a bit more room for the Korgorath and the Blood Reavers, I decided that I was going to thin down the back plate, which was going to be the ruins. So to do this, I made a really cheap jig, bricks, wood, anything I could find in the garden, and the hot wire foam cutter. And I just tried to prop it so that I could cut stuff almost in half, not far off. But yeah, we got there. Got some foam board just as the bottom. I cut it the wrong size, so that's why there's two pieces. And I'm just marking a line here so that I know where I can stick the main base plate. Because I'm working with foam, I'm not really able to use any super glue, so I stuck with hot glue where I stuck this to the main base plate. This is going to hopefully hold those two pieces together. And I do build some stairs as well out of a bit more of that foam board. But you can see there where the hot wire cutter has been used to sort of change the landform a little bit, make it a lot more uneven. But here's the stairs. Cheap foam board, got that from Hobbycraft probably about a year ago. And I keep meaning to use it, but it's a pain taking the paper off. It doesn't really come off very easy. But that's just to build up the height and to allow a way for the Korgorath and the Blood Reavers to actually get up towards the temple. I kept the floor uneven because I wanted it to be a bit like a landslide had happened, so there's bits of mud, dirt, all that, everything's overgrowing. It's been there a while, that temple, and people haven't been around it for a while because I'm thinking maybe they locked the Tyranids in and they've been surviving off potentially eating each other, anything they can get, until Lariel came. Now I'm just using a regular box cutter knife, basically a cheap Stanley knife. I'm using that just to flatten out some of the areas so that it looks like the temple isn't completely desiccated in mud. And there's just dry fit in the back plate. And I'm going to fix that by cutting it down a little bit because I didn't want too much foam. I want to save as much foam as I can, and I can potentially use this offcut to make some of the pillars. So make sure you're using the sharp knife, you're cutting XPS foam. Foam dulls down the blade really quickly. When you're working on a project like this, you're always going to want to be doing dry fits, making sure that everything fits nicely just before you stick it down. Worst thing is sticking it down and realising that it's just not going to work. So, as you can see, I've rounded off the edges a bit, tried to make them look a little bit more stone-like. And here I'm just marking out the doorway where the Tyranids are going to be escaping from. As you can see, I did try and scrape out the innards because I didn't want to have a great big hole at the back. But this was taking a while, quite messy, and in the end I ended up just cutting it out anyway. Just going to have a different piece of foam at the back, nice thin bit of foam board, and that's going to act as the back. You're not really going to see much of the back because that's where all the Tyranids are going to be. So now I'm just making up a texture paste. And before you ask, no, that's not tobacco that I'm putting in. It is some just regular dirt that I got from the forest. And I ran out of brown paint, so I used a bit of green acrylic and a lot of red. Because when you mix them, typically you get a bit more of a reddy brown. And I made sure I put in a lot of tacky glue as well. I mixed that up, and before putting it onto the main thing, I decided that I was going to test it out on the lid first. Because I don't want to ruin the project. After all, it's going for a competition, so it's best to check on a small piece of plastic to see if it's going to do what you want. So the next morning I came back to it and it worked really well. I'm quite happy with that. So it's got the texture that I wanted. It's going to have static grass over the top on a lot of it anyway. So yep, happy with that. And I decided that I was going to move forward and start putting it on the rest of the diorama. In all fairness, I didn't really need to mix up the brown colour, as I'm going to be painting over it anyway, but I didn't cover the entirety of the diorama. I left a lot of the stairs exposed, didn't add any to the back wall, and that's because I want to add a stone texture to that, and that's not going to work if it's already plastered with all this muck. I'm calling it muck because that's what it looks like, and I would say that's what it felt like, but I can't say I have any experience in that. Yeah, anyway, I also used it a bit to fill in some of the gaps that were left because I didn't cut the stairs exactly the right size. So when in doubt, muck it out. To add a bit of variety in texture, I then sprinkled over some mixed grit sand. This is literally beach sand, very fine sand. I think it's got some scale model coal in it. And there's also a bit of, what's that called? Bit of cork board in there as well. Big chunk of that. And then I used some of my homemade concrete. Could be any kind of stone, could be marble, could be anything. But I dotted that around as well. Just add a bit of variety. You might be able to see on the right hand side of the diorama, I have also got a tree root there. Going to be adding a few more bits of that. And that's going to make it look a lot more natural. Let's just hope it dries well. Okay, so I think that's where we're going to leave the video for this week. Might seem a bit of a abrupt end, but I've run out of time. It's 2 hours before I upload. So, yeah, that's why we're leaving it for now. It is drying well, so far. If you've enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And yeah, comment how many times I say as you can see. So glad to have you all here with me, and I'm glad you can all come with me. Basically the same thing, but yeah. So next upload we're going to be painting the Korgorath, and I might show you my idea for how I'm painting the Tyranids as well. So, because I have got one of them done, so I'll show you that. So, yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.